Welcome to Nothingburgers number 3. It's 10/28/2020. So we've got laptop hard drive information from Hunter Biden. That was the weekend-long buzz of things coming out and being released from China. Now here's the real story. Let me tell you how it broke. I'm going to tell you a bunch of things that are either inaccurate by mainstream media and some of the things that may have been overlooked and you didn't hear yet. There's more than 3 hard drives, and what is just on these 3 alone, and what we do know, is that it sheds a lot of light on a lot of different subjects that everyone in the world gets to examine. It's not just our country, it is probably about every country in the world. It sheds a light on shady politics. It sheds a light on shady deals. It sheds a light on the occult involvement of families. It will expose just about every corrupt politician in the United States, especially in D.C. That will be focused on first. And it will implicate the FBI, it will implicate the occult, it will implicate the media, because it's all tied in together. In a big messed up story about how people have been greedy, wanted money in their pockets, were willing to go behind the scenes, make deals, take money, and essentially buy up America so that China had enough say-so to take over. So let's examine all of this. Now listen, the FBI has had this stuff since 2015. This is not something that just came out a few weeks ago, okay? There's more than 3 hard drives, and there are many countries that have their own hard drives, because that's what they all do. They're always recording, taking pictures, keeping the dirt on everyone. What you're going to find is all these famous people, all these politicians, and even stars, they're all, and their children, which is really kind of sick, but you're going to see that it's all kind of one in the same big club, and they're all in bed with each other, quite literally. So I'll tell you what I have seen. I've seen Lady Gaga with Hunter. I've seen pictures of the Mulan chick with Hunter. I've seen pictures of Obama's children with Hunter. They say they'll be releasing video as well of Obama and Biden himself in similar compromising situations with other people. So that is expected to be coming out. What they're generally releasing right now off of Hunter's laptops are things you'll see dated from the last 3 or 4 years. So I've seen things of his from 2016, and the most recent thing I've seen was February of 2019. Now, CCP was saying that they had shared information, well, they didn't share it, but that the DOJ, FBI, they've had information since 2015. So the recording, the blackmail, the documentation of all this stuff and the proof has been going on for years. Biden was in office as vice president from 2008 to 16? So that's how long they've been keeping track. And here's what I figured out. I mean, I did not realize how big of a role that China played in everything going on right now in our political arena. I did not realize how much property that they owned in the United States. I did not know the extent of how many politicians that they've played this game with. And it has been, I posted something on Facebook about Newsweek's article that came out that said that they could identify over 600 organizations. So that's companies, people, entities, whatever, that are working with China, or that at least China had bought a part of. And that means if you own stock, or the most amount of stock in a company, that means you have a say-so in how they run that company. And if you own enough, then you can tell them what to do, and that would make them a shot caller. But they also have vested interest in our companies, like the social media platforms. So yes, they are influencing Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google. So it kind of comes together, and it makes sense why everything's being censored. And, Trump has been hinting around, and Q hinting around, look at who is pushing the hardest. Which governors, which states. All of these politicians, they said, even on a local state level, that China has infiltrated. There's a list, and there's ways you can find out if your governor's doing that. But essentially, if they're pushing mandates, if they're pushing vaccines, if they're pushing the mask thing, that is someone who is getting ready to take their state down. So what does that mean? that means they're on board with furthering the agenda of whatever the communists want. And that's where people have to really become aware and get more involved on a state and local level. So I'm in big time appreciation of news from other countries, and having been watching this other channel on the internet and following Mr. Lude, who is basically the one who I saw anyway broke this information, and he's a whistleblower from China against the CCP, and so there's been some really good information coming out from him. I can also appreciate the fact that there are other people in the world that still have integrity, that will still hold on to what's right and expose things and be whistleblowers and come forward. So if nothing else, we're seeing that there is a concern over there in their country. They're angry. Some of the things that came out are saying, I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but yes, the occult abuse, child abuse, it indicated, some killing and some mutilation and heavy abuse. So I don't know yet, but that kind of thing is prevalent within occult circles, and that's the thing they're not really talking about. Nobody's really talking about the secret society aspect of what is behind politics. So for now, most people can only wrap their head around what's being exposed in the treasonous nature of, our society in general. But I'm happy that this information's coming out and that we can get it from other sources outside the United States. And again, it's like it's uniting us. And I hope that catches on. I hope that the other countries that come forward and have information can get that out there, that it's not censored, so that people can learn and know. But I would say that the people that are ignorant to this, on one hand, they are too lazy to do the research. They're too lazy to look outside, or they're not exercising their critical thinking skills to ask questions and start searching based on those questions. So this is a good thing that we're seeing. It's a good trend, and I hope it continues. Also, in the Q movement, it was said that the thing that will unite people is the common ground of the child abuse. So I'm going to take a logical guess that when more of that is publicly exposed, again, we have to jump over those hurdles of the mainstream media not reporting. So that's largely why information was created in a back channel for the military to be able to communicate with the public. That's what the whole Q movement was about in the first place. So that will be an upcoming thing to look at, is how or if the information's going to come out. It must be in some kind of a big way that will wake people up to a degree, and the thing that will unite us, because truly we have to look past this partisan thing. I wish we didn't have partisanship. I think everybody knows at a basic level what's good and right, or good and evil, the difference between the two. And it's really a time to rewrite everything and start over again, which is a beautiful thing. But first we have to go through chaos. You have to break up the old guard, the old world. And it's not, what the old guard is too? It's not just people in the old ways of politics and rule and law, but it's also the old ways of thinking. People have closed off their minds, they've gotten lazy, and don't want to do a lot of work. And that's how we've let government get away from us, is everyone kept thinking, someone else is going to do it. We grew large as a society, our population boomed, people enjoyed a lot of good things for a while, or what they thought was good, and then largely kind of did not get involved in politics and government. So what has happened? The people who we elected to handle it for us got greedy and decided that they were above us, or somehow believed they would not get caught, and have abused the power. So now it's time for us to take it back. But in order to do that, people really have to show up. We're really going to have to go to the polls. It's not even just about voting. It's about getting together again on a community level and starting from scratch, and people knowing each other and taking the time to interact. That's what grassroots is. And that is really the thing that might be necessary in order to make sure that we all have oversight, because it shouldn't be left to just a few people who think that they are more important than the rest. And this is huge. This has never happened in the history of the United States, that someone has blatantly been caught red-handed with all the proof of treason, making deals, taking orders from China, that, they're essentially going to implement policy for China and whatever China wants. And we see that happening already. This censorship stuff, this is right out of a Nazi playbook. And so if anything, it also implicates the media as well. So I hope we see that the media is held accountable soon, and I wonder if some of these will actually be ending up with criminal charges, because after all, isn't some of this considered tampering with election results or somehow influencing the election, as well as what about crimes against humanity? If they were complicit, if they knew, if there was any evidence that they manipulated information on purpose or lied to us, like with Corona and things, could they not be held responsible for those things as well, and all their assets taken and money? I've seen things starting to fall apart for the corporatocracy, the very big, large corporations that are kind of taking over and eliminating smaller businesses. And so I think this is kind of a good thing, actually, so we can get back to some grassroots. For instance, I've noticed Trump do some things, made some moves that have taken some of the profit away from Big Pharma. I know my mom's insulin went from $90 down to $30. Larger corporations that have a monopoly over many things, and that's harming middle class and small businesses. So it has come down. There are some things going on there that show he is trying to bust down and break down some of these larger corporations that have a monopoly over many things, and that's harming middle class and small businesses. What it does is it just gives the power back to the people. Individual, small business, at a community level, we need to be able to make our money. If things in the interstate commerce area broke down, what you would have is local. And if you don't already have a plan in place, like food, like provisions and services on a community scale, then what's going to happen? Like this, people that have a lot of different skill sets in a handy type way are going to be necessary. And if you don't have that on a local level, how are you going to survive? And that's what I mean by grassroots. So these things are coming back, which is places like Amazon. Sorry to break it to you, but Costco, Walmart is in the background. When you dig deep enough, it all goes back to China. They might have started local or in the USA, but with time, they've been bought out and owned. And it just so happens that their ideology, the reason why they're so willing to take money from these other countries for communism, is because it matches their end days scenario of making the people miserable, reducing the population, having total control over people, and a very few having all the money. So this is the ideology that lines up more with darkness. If you want to put it on a scale of dark to light, obviously it's not right. It's taken away people's free will. So that doesn't align with the light or positivity or God. So who are they worshiping? Who's on board with stuff like that? People who are into the darkness. You can call them Luciferians, you can call them Satanists. There are lots of different groups and organizations that also endorse that kind of belief set. So I think we're making a departure from that. People are starting to realize how prevalent it is in the world, and we just need to return to balance. Thank you for watching. I'll try to turn out something new every day. I've got billions of ideas for lots of shows. However, just this 13 minutes or so has taken me over 3 hours to do. So I have a lot of work ahead of me and some finessing to do so that these don't take me so long, because I'm so new. Thank you. Have a great night.